live and direct from anywhere in the world. It's The Kelley Show with Dr. Kelley Mondesire.
Hello and welcome back to The Kelley Show, real people with real stories in real time. And I am Dr. Kelley Mondesire, your host. And as we continue the month of May's theme of transformation and reinvention, you folks are up for a treat today because my very special guest coming on is not only an explorer, he's a speaker, mentor, coach, author, serial entrepreneur. But what's really astounding about this man is he has been to the highest, coldest, most beautiful, remote, and dangerous places on earth. And he has accomplished over 220 expeditions worldwide. You won't believe the conversation coming when my special guest comes on to The Kelley Show. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And don't go away, you're in for a treat.
This portion of The Kelley Show is being brought to you by White Wolf Advisory Services. We are the bridge between nations, creating growth, commerce and collaboration between cultures. Contact us today for more information.
Welcome back to The Kelley Show. And as promised, I've got a great guest coming on today. He's in the green room, Mr. Pat Falvey, explorer, motivational, inspirational speaker. He's a mentor, coach, author, serial entrepreneur, and I am so envious of all the adventures this man has been on. He rocks. Pat, come on down. Welcome to The Kelley Show. How are you?
I'm absolutely great, Kelley. Why wouldn't I be? I'm here in the kingdom in Kerry in Ireland. It's called the kingdom because of the fact after heaven, God created this place. So here we are in the Loughlin room overlooking the lakes of Killarney, where the Isles of Innisfallen was shot. And that's my favorite place in the world. I travel all around the world, but this is my favorite.
All right. Well, usually I ask my guests, where are you from and where in the world are you now? But you kind of answered that one. Have you always been from that area of Ireland?
Well, I was from down the road, about 60 miles away. It's where I was born, Cork. And, you know, just making a long story short, I went through a very bad period of my life. I went broke, tried to take my life through suicide. And something told me to come to the mountains instead of treating me with Prozac, which they were. I came into the great outdoors, came here, and that was the beginning of an amazing journey for me into the adventure and tribal world that I have been in like for over 36 years. But I am 68, so there's a lot more, you know, other than the final 68 years up to now.
All right. Well, let's go back in time a little bit. Gareth, let's put up those photos that we have of Pat. Now, you started your entrepreneurial journey at the age of 6. Now, the photo on the right, explain to me what's going on here and tell me about your pram story, and then we'll go to your athleticism on the left. So let's start with the photo on the right. What's going on here? Where is this? What's happening?
Well, what's happening, I'm in the Cold Quay in Cork City. It's a kind of a mart where poor people come to buy clothes. And at 6 years of age, I was sent to live with my grandmother, whose husband had left her to rear 6 kids. And her job that she came up with was to collect secondhand clothes from poor people and sell them to poorer people. And that's how she made a living to rear her kids. So when they all went, they sent me down to be her minder. But the first thing she did, because she didn't want me to be poor, she started me in my first business by buying that pram and actually putting me to work. She used to call me her bar of gold, and I used to run up and down council houses. We have government houses here, and she was 4'11". At this stage, she was getting on in life. So she had me run up and down and asking people, you know, do they have any old clothes? Like, in other words, like, you could give me your glasses or your shoes or even your underwear. And I'd collect them all, bring them down to my grandmother, and she would actually sell them. But what I didn't realize, and it was my first, I suppose, touch, with what we call collaboration. She put 20% away for me per year, or per what she was selling. And by the time I got to 12, which was in that picture there, I had enough money to be able to afford to buy a house.
Let's go back to that photo again, Gareth. This one right here.
Yeah, so you could see like these are old women, and I'm the young fella picking my nose. As you could see, I don't know how they caught that shot, but all those clothes were collected in the pram, you know, on a poor side of Cork City. I'd wheel them down. That was my mode of transport. And here I was handing them over to my grandmother. My grandmother would sell it and put 20% away for me. But what she was beating into me as a young child was, if you think you can, you will. And if you think you can't, you won't. So I have the reputation in the world, probably to becoming the youngest door-to-door salesman in the world. And she also bit into me one time when someone said we're better off poor. She gave me a clatter when your grandmother could. That's a slap in the face. Caught me and put me in front of 4 pictures. There was the Sacred Heart, we were Catholic, and she said that's our spiritual leader, the Pope, our president, which was on our wall, and she put me up to the 4th person. And this is at 12 years of age, Kelley. Mm-hmm. And she see that guy up there. I said, yes, he's the most powerful man in the world, and he's Irish. Well, he happened to be the president of America at the time, you know, that my grandmother was, you know, at that stage. And who was it? It was JFK.
Wow. And let me ask you a question. This photo on the left, that's you running. Were you always athletic?
Yeah, well, I was always competitive. And here when I was at school, they put me into the school running team. And I went on to become All-Ireland winner, cross-country, and the 440. It was the 2 races I specialized on. By the time I was 15 or 16, they wanted me to give me a scholarship to Villanova to go to America. Wow. But there was a queer twist in my life, because my father, who was a contractor, went broke because someone caught him for a lot of money. He turned to the drink for a small part of his life. And one day there was one of his workers came to the house looking for him. And my mother said he wasn't inside. They thought he was, kicked the door in. And as they did, my mother went back, hit her head, went unconscious, and I was inside. So I came out and told, I literally nearly strangled him, as you can imagine, if it was your own. And when I came back in, I swore to myself, I had this vision, I was just going to leave school to become a millionaire.
Wow.
So I became a millionaire at 15. And I took up the trade as a bricklayer.
Oh, okay. So let me ask you this. We have a photo of you back in the day when you were in construction. So we're going to put that one up, and tell me about your journey from bricklayer to what's going on here, because obviously you look like a very successful businessman. And how old were you in this photo, and how did you get to this point from bricklaying to this business?
Well, my father was a bricklayer, so I became an apprentice to my uncles and to my father at the time, who were some of the fastest bricklayers and blocklayers in Europe. And so I picked it up very fast. But at this stage, even though I had left school, I had professed I was going to be a millionaire. Now, if you come from a poor background, and this is what I say to people, don't ever let anyone define you because of where you come from. My grandmother taught me that, in the sense I could be as powerful as JFK. And even though I wasn't educated, that she felt I was as smart. And by the time I was 12, I was already an entrepreneur, believing in myself that I could achieve anything because of my mentoring. So here we were, left school at 15. Then I was telling everyone I was going to become a millionaire. And then what happened, by the time I was 17, I wasn't. And I was quite disappointed, can you imagine? And I remember going to my father, who's actually with the level there, and I said, Dad, you know, I'm not too sure, I'm not a millionaire yet. It was a pipe dream, some people would have said. And I said, should I go back to college? And he said, son, you're the biggest dreamer I've ever known. And he gave me a great bit of advice that I would give anybody. Dream, and dream big. But
Mm-hmm.
remember, it's in the following of your dream is where the success lies, not in achieving it. And if you achieve it, let it be a bonus. So I kept dreaming, and within 2 years, people were listening. And then an older guy that had gone broke, who was a developer, met me. And because I was hungry, determination, he had land and I had hunger. And the two of us came together. He gave me some sites. And within 12 months, I was a multimillionaire.
Wow. But as we say, you can have it today and lose it tomorrow. What happened, Pat? What happened to all those millions?
Well, what happened as life goes, I probably thought I had the Midas touch without realizing who Midas was, and a lot of us do that. I probably became obnoxious and not a very nice person. And what happened is in 1986 at the time, there was, a big financial crisis. And everybody, I don't care who's out here listening, everybody would have gone through crises in their time. And so I had a lot of money borrowed. The people that I had that were having my back, I really didn't treat very well. So when the problem came, the people that were having my back pulled away. The interest rate went up. And at the time I was building 200 houses a year. I built over 2,000 houses.
Wow.
And I was now what we call in the business side of it, over trading. And at that stage, the banks came in, and I hadn't got the capability at that point in time or the knowledge how to weather these storms. I went broke. My wife, who loved me, she personally guaranteed to the bank. And what really killed me at this stage, because I had huge pride, is they came after my wife. And then I felt I was a failure. I had a lovely Georgian house and they were trying to throw her out of it and the kids, and I felt I was a failure. So again, like lots of people and everyone will throughout their life have an anxiety, a fear, things will happen. But at this stage, the doctors were giving me Prozac, for depression. But it was it wasn't right. I didn't have clinical depression. I had self-esteem depression. I tried to take my life through suicide, thinking that I was better off not being in this world for my family, except just as about I was to drive in to a river that was at full tide. I see my kid's face and I actually jammed on the brakes, pulled back and went home, told my wife, told my family, and believe it or not, they told me, talk to my staff, and everybody again had my back. And this is the most important thing when things go wrong, is to talk about what's going wrong, because you wouldn't believe how many people will be there to have your back. And suicide today, I speak on suicide and tendency of anxiety, fear, because when I took up this, I went into the currency of happiness. I would be one of the top experts on happiness. I go into companies with 2,000 and 3,000 people or individuals that are not happy. And lots of people aren't happy. If I was to ask everybody here how happy you are, unless you're over 50%, you're starting into anxiety. If you're at 20%, you're going into depression.
Right.
So and I know we won't get a chance to talk about it here today. That's, as a personal coach and a mindset coach, that's what I do. And I absolutely love all that side of my life now.
How did you come about going on adventures? You told me during our last conversation about a mountain in Ireland that started it all, that began your journey as an adventurer. Talk to me about that journey. Tell us.
Okay, what happened is when I told everybody what had happened, there was the father of one of my secretaries came to the office, and there I was with the big boardroom, and he said, would I go hill walking? And I didn't know what hill walking was, but it was about getting out in nature, and it was to climb some mountains. So I tried to dismiss him, but he persuaded me to go, even though I had no money. I had a big Mercedes car, couldn't afford to put the petrol in the car. And so he persuaded me to go, and I never, ever forget it. I had only €2 or £2 that we had at the time. And I paid that to go on an event for a day. And
And
as I,
how old were you? How old were you?
at this stage, I was 29.
Okay.
And these people were older, and I was saying as they were driving me, because they just insisted I'd go, they were saying, "Oh, what a lovely day! Look at the colors outside, the greens." And I was saying, "What in the name of God are they talking about?" So I got out of the car reluctantly. I climbed a small mountain, only 2,400, and even though that week the banks were taking us to court to take our family home, I was so elated that I was about to achieve something, getting to the top of a mountain. And I asked, what were they doing next week? I was now enthusiastic, and they were climbing Ireland's highest mountain. I got to
And
the
did your attitude change your perspective in business, or how did that event turn you around, and how did you come out of debt and become successful again? And what were the parallels of continuing the mountain or the hill walking and attaining financial success again before you went on your great adventures?
Yeah, well, what happened is the following week, right? I was so excited. I was climbing Ireland's highest mountain. Someone died in it the week before, and it was my Everest. And I never forget it, like, that we were in the courts, and I wasn't worried about the courts now. I was worried about not dying on my Everest, which is Carrantoul, a small mountain, but it's a technical mountain in some ways. And I got to the top, and you wouldn't believe I was jumping with joy because I had actually succeeded in doing something. And I was at the summit of my Everest, which was Carrantoul. And Val, who was the guy that asked me to go, I put my hand out like this and I shook it tightly, and I was jumping up and down with excitement. He said, "What's wrong, Pat? What's wrong?" And I said, "Val, I'm going to climb Mount Everest." And it started with the fact that the excitement, the same way as I said, I'm going to be a millionaire. And then what happened? The journey started. The dream was dreaming big. The journey now was about to start. That would take me right around the whole world. Training for Everest would bring me to places, meet people that were, like in inspirational stuff, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with.
Yeah. Now we have a photo of you on Everest. So talk to me about who these people are accompanying you, but at the same time, as you training and making this journey to Everest, and do share how many times you've been to the summit of Everest. How did this affect your business as well? What was going on?
Well, the journey was very fast. It reconnected me with my self-confidence, my self-esteem. And after coming off of Carrantoul, I never forget that the endorphins were absolutely flying. I reconnected with my business. I set up a bank with no money, which would be illegal now, but it's a long story in itself, but I'll just tip it off there, right? And then I met people and saying, I'm going to climb Everest, I'm going to climb Everest. And believe it or not, people helped. I did the training, I did the courses, I did rock climbing, ice climbing, I went to the Alps. And then all of a sudden, I ended up with a cartier of people that now are my new cartier, pushing me forward to follow my dreams. And they're believing in me, and I believing in myself. 7 years later, I was heading for the summit of Mount Everest. And we were doing a project for NASA, helping this guy called Carl Hines. And believe it or not, my first attempt on Everest, we were one day off the summit. He died, and we had to bury him.
Oh, wow.
And then I said, after that, I go back again. A year later, I was on the summit of Mount Everest. And I never forget, it was so exciting because this place, has fossils of sea creatures in it. This place was at the bottom of the seabed, and it was pushed with great tectonic forces up to the sky. And there I was standing on a patch of ground the size of your kitchen table, saying, yes, I've done it. And straight away, this is Chomolungma, goddess mother of our earth.
How many times have you climbed Everest?
I've been 4 times on Everest, twice to the summit. I became the first person in the world to climb Everest north and south, including the 7 summits twice. Now, some of them I've done 40 and 50 times.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and then when I was there, this is the thing about transformation. I said, what's next? And you know what happened? I was the apprentice. I became the master. Now I wanted to become the mentor. I wanted to actually find other people that I could help. So I decided, that I'd like to be the first person in the world to have done this, 7 summits twice, including Everest, North and South, but also to help the first Irish female to do it, and also the first Irish team to lead them from what we would call the South side. That hadn't been done either before. Wow. And as well as that, so that dream and that last shot you had there, like it actually excites me when I see it, because when I stood there, it was the mentoring of others that I had helped that stood there. The people you're seeing are the Sherpa people, the unsung heroes, of which we won't get a chance to talk about. There was Claire O'Leary, the first Irish female, that was her second attempt. She nearly died on the first one, or she got a stomach, nearly died on the first one. But here we were now, we were on the top of the world. And by the way, just to fill you in on it, 50 climbers I would have climbed with over my period of time in the 36 years have died, on extreme mountains. No, not on the standard mountains. So when I was standing there, I was thinking of them. I was thinking of being on a place that came from the bottom of the earth, right? And I never forget it. I put my hand in my pocket. I'm Irish. I took out what is the flag there, and I stood it high in the sky, and I said, yes, we're standing on top of the world. And I said, Claire, let's get the bloody hell out of here.
Now you've been to the top of the world. We have a photo of you on the bottom of the world. Gareth, put up the next one. Look at this, Shackleton. Now, did you make this like, I don't call it a snowman, but did you and your team make these letters in the ice?
Shackleton was one of the greatest leaders of men, I think, even though he accomplished nothing. But he got to this point when he was with Scott, and then he was, or when he went down on his second expedition, and he had to turn, and he turned to save his men. So we were about to move on beyond that. But after coming off of Everest, Claire said to me, what's next? And I love that word, what's next? So I said, how about the 7 summits? So she did the 7 summits. Then she became the second woman in the world, only from just coming to visit me here at the lodge, our 17th woman. And then she said, Pat, what's next? And I thought I was finished in my 50s. And I said, how about we walk to the South Pole? And that's what we're doing here. One of the most prolific, one of the hardest, challenges physically and mentally that you could do. And when we got to this point in celebration of our heroes, our Irish heroes, we cut this sign and put it up, and we were about to cross it and go to the pole. I'll never forget, Kelley. I put an ad on the paper to find these people. I said, ordinary men and women wanted for extraordinary expedition. I train you may die. I got 7,500 applicants. And here we were now, like, after doing a lot of other expeditions in between, training people, and a fascinating story in itself. And but then we moved on, and here we were now walking to the South Pole. And even after walking to the South Pole with Claire, she turned around, she said, what's next? Right?
And what's next? You took off the snowy equipment and the equipment for ice, and you went into another direction. We have an amazing graphic we're going to put up with you and an indigenous tribe. I mean, this is super cool. Gareth, put this one up for us, would you? Who are these people?
This is the Daniel tribe in West Papua New Guinea.
Wow.
And I was down there looking for the female warrior tribes, and also to find out, I have worked with and lived with over 32 different tribes, trying to find out what it is that has driven man and woman since the evolution of the species, right? And now today, and here I was down in West Papua New Guinea investigating what it was that drove us to be, and you know what it is? It's to be the best that we can be. And even now, all their children, the same as our children, they're born with the same brain. And it actually is only from a lack of opportunity that doesn't let them be like us. So poverty in the world, is something that I'm working on. I'm what we call a social capitalist, right? Like as a person, I'm very successful, but from that's the capitalistic side of me. But when I first went to the Himalayas to find myself, I was going to become a dropped out hippie. I had hair, by the way, and to become a dropped out hippie in Dubar Square smoking pot, right? And my Buddhist mentor says, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" And I said I was going to be a floater. And they said, "You must go back. You have too much to offer." And that's what I did. And part of this investigation, I've looked at the Dani, the Lani, the Asmats. I was looking for the Otso warrior tribe. I have been with the Inuits. I have been with the Sherpa. So like down in Africa, about 10 different tribes there as well. So it's been an amazing journey.
And you've managed not only to keep the head on your shoulders, but keep it the same size and not get a head like this big.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. The thing about it is, my grandmother always said, "Don't ever forget where you come from," right? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an Irish thing.
And you know what she said to me? Because she was a matriarch, my mother was a matriarch, my sisters are matriarchs, and others are very powerful women. It was, I learned the aspect of respect for women. And when I was down there, because there was the female warrior tribe down there who exists as the matriarchs, right? Female warrior tribes that have existed as tribes only for 2,000 years. It was a fascinating journey. And like, this is what I love. I'm 68 now, and it's like, it's still continuing. It's what's next? And I have so much excitement in my life.
And speaking of what's next, you tend to share that, and now you give lectures and you mentor. And where is this photo taken, and what's going on, and who is the audience?
Yeah, this is for Google. This is for app developers. But I speak up to 3,000 people, down to personal development for chief executives, Olympians, football teams. This is what I love doing now. I absolutely love, mentoring, coaching, and taking the lessons that I have learned. It's like taking my 68-year-old self and seeing what I'd have told my 18-year-old self and 20-year-old self. And now I attract audiences all around the world, and as an international speaker. And but like everyone like that has a dream, everyone that has a goal, everyone that wants to be the best that they can be, because that's what it's all about. Whether you're a mother, like, what my greatest ambition is now? To become the best grandfather that I can be. Like, people think it's a lot of other things like that I want to do. No. The thing with it is, I have now came to the situation after all of this that I want to become the best grandfather that I can be, because maybe I wasn't the best father.
Well, those grandchildren are really lucky, because they don't know they have the real Indiana Jones as pops. But speaking of which, we're going to pop off for a few seconds. After a word from our sponsor, we'll be back with Mr. Pat Falvey, who is the real Indiana Jones. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Many Purple Hats, MPH, Vroom! Get noticed online, stand out from the crowd, differentiate yourself from all that white noise. Vroom!
And welcome back to the Kelley Show, where my amazing guest, I'm so envious of all your adventures, Mr. Pat Falvey. Thank you. I have a tradition on the Kelley Show that we ask all of our guests, if you could name one person, place, thing, or experience that you are thankful or grateful for, who or what would it be?
Well, there's a few of them, because you are who your mentors are. There was my grandmother, Mary B. O'Callaghan, who taught me the lesson. And I leave it to you. If you think you can, you will. And if you think you can't, you won't. And never, ever be defined by people telling you that you can't do things. The other is my father, who said, dream and dream big. Remember this, in the following of the dreams is where the success lies, not in achieving them. So most people procrastinate about doing what they want to do. And by the way, you have only one life, so you might as well do it, because life ends very, very fast. So dream and keep doing it. And
we're going to go to your books as a last licks here, because we're kind of running out of time. Folks, look at these books. I want everyone to Google these books, read these books by Mr. Pat Falvey, because you are in for a treat. This man is a dynamo. I'll be reading your books. And Pat, I'm going to not only thank you for being up here in the studio on the Kelley Show and sharing some of your adventures. You have to come back because we've got a lot to talk about. But if anyone would like to reach out to Pat, we have his contact information we're going to put up here. But while we have this contact information up, I want to ask you, who's your little friend on the back of your backpack, and how many trips and expeditions has this little guy been on with you? And I think we have a friend of yours in your studio. There he is. There he is. What's his name?
This is Freddie T. Bear. He's our alter ego. He's also written 2 books about his experiences. And
No
it's
kidding.
no matter how many times you fail. And he's saying hello to everybody there. And hello to your 2 as well.
This is
So-
Cherokee Charlie. He's been on motorcycle adventures with me. The dragon's tail, claws, fins, everything there, the Cherahala highway. And this guy is my buddy, Morty the Moose. I picked up Morty on the side of a road in Montana when I was doing Ride to the Sun, the Road to the Sun, going through the American Rockies. So, hey guys.
Hi. Yeah, he's absolutely delighted. He heard he was coming on today, so he's off of school. He goes to school.
All right.
And
Oh,
by
we'll have to give them each other's contact information.
yeah. So anyway, he's 8 years old, which is 57 adult years, and he still loves school, by the way. And he's
Wow.
looking forward to his next expedition.
Charlie is, how old are you, Charlie? Ooh, you know what? Charlie's 9 years old as
Oh.
well. And Morty, how old are you? Morty is 7 years old. And they help me in the studio doing all of my work too. So for any kids out there, remember, do your homework and aspire to greatness, All right, boys, go back to work. Okay.
Yeah. He's going down to do his exercises. He's gone away to do his exercise. So
Pat, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. You have to come back. We're doing a special month on travel and adventure, and you've got to come back for a special feature and talk more about these many, many adventures. We just ran out of time today, but thank you again for being on the show, for inspiring people. Reach out to Pat Falvey. He's the real deal and truly one of the most amazing, dynamic individuals I've ever met. And we didn't talk about Forever Young, but we'll come back. I'm going to have you come back on a special edition, and we'll talk about Forever Young. So thank you, Pat. I appreciate you. And folks, if any of you, namaste. If any of you would like to be on a future Kelley Show, we have the contact information up here. Write to us with your name, where in the world you are, a bit about your story, but more importantly, why you would like to be a guest on the Kelley Show. And don't forget to subscribe today to the YouTube channel. Once again, we're down here, looky, and we've got a QR code up. Subscribe today, tell a friend, share, and don't forget to share today's video because I had the real Indiana Jones on Mr. Pat Falvey. So be cool, be good, be adventurous, do your best, be great. See you soon. Gareth, take it away.
If you would like to be a guest on The Kelley Show, send us an email with your contact information, where in the world you are, and a brief description of the story you'd like to share today.